I'm Senator David Coltart. I'm a human rights lawyer from Zimbabwe. I've been an opposition member of parliament and Minister of Education, Sport, Arts and Culture in the inclusive government between 2009 and 2013. So I'm here promoting the book that I've just published in March this year called The Struggle Continues, 50 Years of Tyranny in Zimbabwe. It's an autobiographical political history of the last 60 years of Zimbabwe. It's about 30% autobiographical, but the balance is my perspective on the history of Zimbabwe. The subtitle, 50 Years of Tyranny, marks the 50 years between the unilateral Declaration of Independence by Ian Smith on the 11th of November 1965, the controversial declaration, which had its 50th anniversary on the 11th of November 2015. And my view is that we've had tyranny for that entire period of Zimbabwean history. The kettle is boiling. There's no doubt about that. Pressure is rising in Zimbabwe. The economy is in a very bad state. There's no money in the system. Government is battling to pay civil servants, and that's exacerbating the tension. Mugabe is 92. He's increasingly out of touch. There's a power vacuum. Some of his closest supporters from the past, war veterans from the liberation war of the 60s and 70s, have recently issued a statement disassociating themselves from Mugabe. But there is this power vacuum. The opposition have been split. So in one sense, yes, it's true that the pressure is mounting. The danger, though, is we don't know how it will vent itself, because there is quite a lot of incoherence in the leadership. It's not as if there is one single opposition leader who's leading the charge, giving a clear path forward. The danger is that Zimbabwe can degenerate into violence and chaos. Well, tragically, much of the reporting in the past, I have to say, has been racist. Perhaps not intentionally racist, but it's been racist to the extent that if white farmers' rights are being abused, those stories have got a lot of currency in the world's media. When it's black people who are being beaten up, the world's media doesn't seem to pick up the story. Obviously, it doesn't sell as many newspapers. But the fact of the matter is that human rights abuses are on the rise in Zimbabwe. There are many people suffering. This is a country that could explode, and we've seen even in our recent past how Zimbabwe destabilization within Zimbabwe affects the whole region, in particular South Africa. And Nelson Mandela's dream of a democratic, vibrant South Africa is actually undermined what is happening by what is happening in Zimbabwe. Africa as a continent is often viewed with depression by people. And I often say that the hope for Africa is found in Southern Africa, where there has been this embracing of democracy in the last 30 years. But Zimbabwe is right in the heart of Southern Africa. And so if Zimbabwe explodes, it will set back that democratic progression in Southern Africa and remove perhaps what is the remaining hope for Africa as a continent becoming more democratic and developing. Our message to, for example, the British and American governments is engage principally with governments in the region in a multilateral approach, in particular with the South Africans. One of the problems that we face is that the ANC in South Africa is distracted at present. There's been a lot of criticism of President Zuma. They've recently had municipal elections where they've lost ground, and so they're doing a lot of navel gazing, and South Africa I don't think fully appreciates how serious the situation is in Zimbabwe. So what we need primarily is for Western governments to engage principally the South Africans, but also the Zambians and Mozambicans, to try and build a consensus regarding what should be done in Zimbabwe. Well, I was privileged to come to the first Beyond Borders in 2010 when I was then Minister of Education. And so 6 years on, it's just wonderful being back here. It's wonderful to see how it's progressed. how much more gravitas it has now than then, and it had a lot of gravitas then. I've just been in this session with the First Minister and that magnificent violinist who actually had tears streaming down my eyes. And one needs that kind of emotion to make people realize that we've got to go beyond mere academic debates about human rights abuses and war to understand the amazing human cost. Because when we realize that emotion and that human cost, the actual human cost, we often move to do something about it, to move beyond a mere academic debate to action.